There are so many different styles of breathwork and so many breathwork patterns out there, and it may become even overwhelming to understand why this pattern, when to use this, or even to remember what the pattern is, because it can get really complicated sometimes, and it does not have to be. Hi, I'm John. I'm a certified somatic breathwork guide on the faculty at Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health and T. Schreiber Acting Studio in New York City. And I help you clear stress from the deepest running currents of your nervous system so that you could live a more heart-centered, authentic life. Breathwork is actually incredibly simple. So if it ever seems like it's complicated or you're getting overwhelmed with information or techniques, you can always come back to this video where I'm going to break it all down in the most simple, pragmatic, and accessible way. At their core, breathing patterns can be broken down into one of three categories. A breathing pattern is either energizing, balancing, or calming. Breathwork is ultimately not about oxygen. And I know that might sound very weird. Yes, when we breathe in, we absorb a certain amount of oxygen. When we breathe out, what do we release? CO2. A little science pop quiz there, right? So we breathe in, we absorb a certain amount of oxygen. We breathe out, we release CO2. Breath work, it is far more helpful to think in terms of CO2 rather than oxygen. There is this misconception that if we breathe more and faster, that we're oxygenating the body. This is a misconception. The body has a certain oxygen saturation point, and just because we breathe more doesn't mean we're taking in more oxygen. If that were the case, any sort of respiratory distress wouldn't be an issue, because if someone had trouble breathing, we would just tell them to breathe faster, problem solved. So that's not how it works. Ultimately, we want to look at what is happening with our CO2. So when we explore breathing patterns where the breath is moving faster, essentially taking more breaths per minute. Whatever the pattern, when we accelerate the amount of breaths we're taking per minute, we're dumping CO2. And when we dump out CO2, we're going to elevate or energize the nervous system. We're going to energize the body. Upshifting, right? If you think of it like a car, I find this very pragmatic way to think of it. When we start to take more breaths per minute, it's like we're starting to floor it on the highway in a sports car. I'm good with sound effects, right? So we start to upshift as we upregulate the nervous system by taking more breaths per minute. Now, as we start to take less breaths per minute, whatever the pattern is, less breaths per minute, we're going to start to down-regulate the nervous system, downshift that car. Again, great sound effects, right? So we're downshifting. So as we start to downshift the car, take less breaths per minute, we're starting to down-regulate the nervous system. So any pattern you could think of where the breath is faster, upregulating the nervous system, energizing the body. Any pattern you could think of that is slowing the breath down, less breaths per minute, down-regulating the body. Practical applications for these patterns are that in the morning, you may want to do an energizing pattern. Whether you drink coffee or not, this can be a complement in how you start your day. In the afternoon, you may want to do a balancing pattern. Level things off just by checking in with your breath and taking an even breath that balances your nervous system. In the evening, you may want to do a calming breathing pattern, becoming aware of your breath and then just downshifting before you fall asleep. The beautiful thing about all these patterns is I personally am not sanctimonious. If you're laying with your face in the pillow and your alarm goes off in the morning and you're just too tired and you just want to hit that snooze over and over again, well, guess what? You can start an energizing breathing pattern and it's going to start to expel CO2 and start to upregulate your nervous system, and boom, start your day. If you're sitting in the car with your duffel bag next to you and you just got to go into the gym, but you're just, oh gosh, I'm not feeling this, I'm not feeling this. You can do that energizing pattern sitting in your car. Here we go. Grab the bag, you're in the gym. If you're at work and you have to give a presentation and your hands are shaking, your palms are sweating, you feel all jittery, well, you can do a balancing pattern to level yourself off and get yourself focused, keeping the right amount of energy, and yet feeling centered and grounded. You could do this with a balancing pattern. Boom, there you go. Nail that meeting, nail that presentation, whatever it is you got to do. Then at the end of the night, you go to lay down in bed. You don't have to be formal about this. You could just be laying there, soft gaze or eyes closed, and just start to do a calm breathing pattern. Start to become aware of your breath and start to downshift by slowing the breath down. Breath work can, and by all means should, be incredibly practical, incredibly accessible, and incredibly useful to your actual day-to-day life. Victory to the light within.